for you soon. Today's meeting will be recorded, and I just want you to be aware of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our presentation. The agenda for today is to talk about some of the basic AEBG office information, including the new annual plan, our new fiscal system, the 2017 calendar, and then we'll get into the details of the technical assistance project, and of course we'll have times for questions. So I'd like to introduce Neil Kelly. Neil, are you on the line?
Yes, Diana, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Okay. So it's nice to be on the other side of the webinar. So I welcome Diana and her group and all the people that are on today. This will be our first webinar hosted by the AEBG Technical Assistance program. So we look forward to more of these in the future, and I can sit back and let you guys drive this webinar today. So I'm excited. So let me quickly go through some slides and updates of what's happening, and we can get into the technical assistance. So tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, you'll get a consortia leads and co-chairs and directors will get a special email about the annual plan toolkit and template, and that'll be released and opened tomorrow afternoon. So what that includes is, meaning we'll post it in the portal so you can go in and enter it. We do have some revisions. We noticed we left out the updates for 17-18. So you will notice on the new template tomorrow that there is a section for each of the questions. You list your top 3 strategies for 17-18. And that information will be high level for the consortium, and it'll feed into a more detailed budget and work plan that'll be due in the fall, and I'll get into that a little bit later. This will also include a fact sheet by region. So each consortium, 71 fact sheets, will be posted probably, we'll start posting those Thursday, and by the end of Friday, we should have all 71 regional fact sheets, which include enrollment history, census data, American Community Survey data, and resources, meaning how much WIOA, how much AEBG, how much non-credit, CalWORKS, Perkins, jail funds are coming into the region. So that'll all be available hopefully by Friday. It just takes a long time to post to the website. So we're looking forward to that. Let me just skip back just for a second. So just to reiterate those, the annual plan. Okay. Let me just, I can move those slides around. 1 second. So it's the top 3 strategies that you'll look for. So when you open up this template tomorrow, you will see some of those changes. And so I want to stress that this is a consortia level activity, and the details will be added in the fall by each member, and more details on that. So I'm going to move along. Quickly, the sections, as you know, just like last year, executive summary. There'll be a fiscal section on how you're spending your 15-16, 16-17, any carryover funds, how do you plan to liquidate that, and then we'll get into the AB86 framework sections like effectiveness, meaning are you going out and filling gaps, are you sustaining existing programs, that's in the effectiveness section, and then we get into seamless transition, student acceleration, shared professional development, and leveraging resources. So these will be due by August 15th. So hopefully you'll get together with your consortium membership and work on this prior to people leaving for the summer. It is a member participation type exercise, and so it can't be just one person developing these annual plans. It has to be the collective, the whole consortia, all the members involved. And so I think you've been through this a couple of times, so we look forward to seeing the results on this one. Okay, so let's get in quickly into the new fiscal system. We're working on that currently. We should have more information out over the summer, but we're planning this to go online in October. So each member will be required to do a budget, expenses, and activity, and then we can roll that up to the consortia level. currently, our fiscal system is only at the consortia level, which makes it problematic at the state and sometimes at the consortia level to figure out what the members are doing. So we are moving to a member-based system, and your budget for your member will be based on the CFAD. So those information you put in the CFAD will be uploaded to this new fiscal system. So you'll have an allocation, and then each member will go in and put in their budget by object code 1,000 through 7,000. And they'll also have to do an activity plan or a work plan showing for each of the AEBG objectives based on the annual plan, what are those activities. So we'll bring over from the annual plan those high-level strategies for 17-18, and then you'll be required to put activities under there. We'll try to standardize that activity so you'll be checking boxes rather than writing up subjective information. This way we can roll it up and show the legislature exactly what we're doing throughout the state. And so more details to follow on that. But we'll try to make this as easy as possible because we have close to 400 members. So that's a lot of work going on at the member level, and we're going to try to standardize it so we can make summarize and do reports and provide information to our stakeholders and our legislative members and staffers to inform them what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to get into the calendar, and this is kind of the tail end of my quick presentation. So just in a review for the next 3 or 4 months, here's what's happening. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have the budget revisions due for 15-16, 16-17. That's for our old fiscal system, the one you've been currently using. That's through the Chancellor's Office system. You have to have a password. You go in there. And so budget revisions for the 2 years in play, which is 15, 16, 16, 17, will be due by, I think it's June 20th. And so we'd want you to get that in as soon as you could or can and ask questions. It should be straightforward, just like any other budget revision cycle that we go through. At the same time, starting this month, we actually started last week having the data and accountability team meeting. So we had an initial meeting last week. We have a CTE assessment meeting tomorrow, and then next week we have a basic skills assessment meeting, followed up by another data and accountability team meeting. So for the next 4 to 6 weeks, wrapping up around beginning of July, we will have these team meetings to talk about policy issues and recommendations related to accountability and assessment. And that's due to the legislature August 1st.
Neil,
so,
can I interrupt
jumping,
for a moment? You have
sure.
You have a question before you go into your July presentation. Kristen,
Okay.
Question for Neil. Will we be able to submit that info for shared funds as well, not member specific? It's a question from Kristen and Felicia.
So when she means shared funds, does she mean like a budget revision or an annual plan question? I'm not sure if I'm following the question. A separate budget for common funds. Oh, I see. So Kristen, in your situation, someone will have to hold those funds. So when you set up your budget, you guys will have to elect, if it's the fiscal agent, which is, I guess, Hartnell, they will have to hold the funds for the common funds. It just can't stay up in the ether, world, up in the clouds. It has to be assigned to a member. And most likely, if you have a fiscal agent, those common funds should be held by the fiscal agent until you decide to fund them. If you're direct funded, you definitely should assign it to one of your members, and you guys would have to make a decision if you're direct funded, if you are going to hold common funds. It makes it a little more difficult with direct funding because then you have to do subcontracts to move that money around rather than a fiscal agent setup. So hopefully that answers your question. Thanks, Diana, for bringing that to my attention. Also, so the first week of July, we have the state budget enacted. Second week, by law, we have to release the final allocations. We don't think there'll be any changes. They'll be similar to the preliminary allocations that you saw at the end of February. And that's just in case there's changes in the budget, trailer bill language, anything like that. We don't anticipate any changes. So by the second week of July, you should see your final allocations. Then the third week is our last data and accountability team meeting. So then they gear up for the policy report. And then at the end of July, our expenditure reports are due for 15-16. That would be quarter 4 or report period 4. And 16-17 would be report period 2. So those will be due at the end of July. Then going into August, so August 1st, you start ramping up. We've got the TOPS Pro data, that's the end of the year data, is due August 1st. Also, it's not going to be incumbent upon the field, but we will release the data and accountability report to the legislature August 1st as well. And that's what those data and accountability team meetings are all about, and recommending policy. So those recommendations will go forward to the legislature August 1st. If all goes well, we'll start training and doing regional workshops and things like that in the fall, hopefully late August, September, to get everybody up to speed on these policy changes related to assessment, accountability, spending the AEBG funds, all that kind of stuff. So moving into August, the second week, the template, the annual plan template is due. That's August 15th. And then hopefully by the third week or by the end of August, the 17-18 AEBG funds will be released. So that will kick off the installment process. I guess the August release will be 2 months. That'll be July and August. And then every month going out to June of next year, if you're a fiscal agent or if you're direct funded, you'll get an AEBG installment payment. And then by June of next year, you'll have the full allotment for the subsequent, I guess, year. It'll be next 2 years or something like that, I think, or next probably a year and a half, because these funds expire at the end of 2.5 years, and then we have 6 months worth of final reporting and closeout and things like that. So it's 3-year money, but with a 6-month closeout period. And going into September, by mid-September, we should have the AEBG data tables released by Casas for 16-17. We should have some statewide outcome averages for everybody to look at. And like I said, we'll have training on the system and policy changes. We'll start rolling out then. Then we get into October 12th and 13th is the technical training for AEBG directors or leads. That's limited just to that lead level. Because we only have room for like 100 people at this event. And it's just a technical training. We're still going to have the summit in the spring, so this is not in place of the summit. Probably by the end of October, or we'll start releasing information on the fiscal system probably in September, but we'll probably open up the system sometime in October for you to start inputting information. Also at the end of October will be the first quarter for 17-18 due in TOPS Pro Enterprise, and then November 1st is the preliminary data report due to the legislature, which is critical because that'll be all that data that we're collecting right now for 16-17. The legislature will look at that November 1st and make a decision whether to fund it for 18-19, another $500 million or more, hopefully not less. So I think that's the last slide for me, yes. So any questions? I think we had a couple.
Yeah, another question from John Werner. Do we have an ETA on when we can see our consortium data as submitted in April? Do we have to wait for the ledge report?
So I'm assuming, John, you're referring to the student data. And the student data, that would be a Casas question. And I would ask them, when you submit quarterly, how soon can you see that data? I'm assuming they're going to have tables. Maybe we'll have to check back with Casas. I know they're under WIOA, you can look at your data on a quarterly basis, and we're going to move towards that. I don't know with AEBG if that's still a possibility. So I'm going to defer that. Oh, we have Patty Long typing. So John, hang in there. Patty's going to answer your question because I was going to defer this to Casas. And with that, any other additional questions? And we'll John will have to take his answer off the air as Patty will answer that in the chat box. So Diana, any other questions?
I don't see any other questions for you right now, Neil, but please stay on the line in case something comes up and we need your assistance. Thank you. Okay, so moving on.
Thank you.
Now I'll talk about the Adult Ed Block Grant Technical Assistance Project. As many of you know, there was a request for applications to provide technical assistance, professional development, and capacity building to the field with regard to Adult Ed Block Grant. We all know, we've all experienced that there are many different things coming out, and as Neil just talked about, there are policy decisions being made, and as we're moving forward through this new world of adult ed funding, we have many questions. And so our project will be providing some assistance, professional development, and especially targeted assistance to those consortia who need it. It is a partnership project. We are running out of the Sacramento County Office of Education, but we are including some familiar names, but we'll be delving much deeper into the AEBG field. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll have a little presentation through this webinar, including with American Institutes for Research, Casas, and OTAN. Each of our partners will be providing a different area of professional development, but we'll all be doing so through webinars. We hope to provide face-to-face workshops as well as online learning opportunities. You can see on the left of your screen that AIR will be providing support with curriculum and instruction as well as leadership support. Casas will be continuing to provide support with data and accountability, and we'll get a little deeper with reporting student and program success, how to use some of that data that we're pulling in Casas to kind of help drive the program and the policies of your individual consortia as it best meets your needs regionally. And OTAN will be continuing to provide educational technology integration. Part of what we'll be doing as we're planning for our technical assistance, we'll be engaging members of the field. We'll be using some other facilities and tools, online tools, so that we're able to provide targeted assistance, and we'll be responding to specific requests for service. The features of our project include not only the consortia lead event that Neil just mentioned, but also the annual summit. We'll be looking at advanced levels of collaboration and networking. Up until now, at Sacramento County Office of Education, we've been doing quite a bit of work and behind the scenes, planning for today and preparing so that we can provide assistance to the field. One of the things that we've been doing are providing website enhancements. We are planning for and have begun implementing many interactive tools. One of the interactive tools that we've already started is the keyword search capability. And I hope that some of you in the field have already experienced using our new search capability, because all you need to do is type in a few keywords and press enter. You'll get a list of search results by relevance as well as by the date posted. This is something that's new because in the past you would have to screen through the FAQs. This is providing information to you much quicker and in a more interactive approach. In addition to that, we're continuing to add new website features each week, and it takes us a little time to build some of them. The next section that we opened is the site map. You're able to, on the upper left-hand side of the AEBG site, able to look at the site map, so if there's something in particular you're looking for, you'll know which section to look for it in. The next thing that we hope to release fairly soon will be a Contact Us for Assistance tool. And in the Contact Us section, you'll be able to go in and enter some simple identifying information, as well as putting in either the keywords or a specific question. And if that information already exists on the website, you will be able to be directed right to that part of the website and find the information you need. However, if it doesn't answer your question, there will be an advanced feature that allows you to submit a question to us, such as, please explain to me how I access the information that John was just asking about. How do I find out about the Casas data and how my consortia compares statewide? And then we'll be able to deploy through the Sacramento County Office of Education to our partners to the correct person who would be able to respond depending on what your question is. We're also working on planning a training calendar so that you'll be informed of when the webinars are. You may notice it's Wednesday and not Friday, and what we're trying to do is to start our webinars on Wednesdays, which allows some great professional development time for the field, but also will leave Fridays open for very specific policy and adult ed block grant office. That's the combined office of the Chancellor's Office and California Department of Education, so that they can still continue to contact us with important information once needed. The next webinar is scheduled for next Wednesday, June 7th, and you'll be getting some more detailed information about that in this presentation. So I'm just checking my questions. Oh, that's a question for Neil still. Okay, so we're looking at using the webinars through Adobe Connect, and one of the reasons for that is so that we'll be able to get some direct feedback from each one of our participants in our webinars. We'd like to know what information you're looking for, how can we serve you best. We want to make sure that we are sharing information with you that's timely and relevant and will really help the consortia as they move through their planning process. So please follow us through the newsletter, and also we'll continue to post technical assistance news on our website. By the way, we have created a new website, which is aebg.org, and right now as we build the new website, you're able to access the current website just simply by putting in aebg.org, for those of you that don't see all of the CCCO connecting. And John is asking, will Wednesdays at noon be our new daytime for technical webinars? At this time, that's what we have planned. We have a couple of other webinars scheduled. As I mentioned, next Wednesday, June 7th, will be the next webinar. So Wednesdays, we're looking at as professional development or technical assistance webinars, and then on Fridays, we're looking at it as being more of a policy webinar. And again, please follow the newsletter or the e-blast. That's where you'll be getting most of your information. Okay, and now I'd like to introduce Marianne Fideli-McLeod, who will explain to us a little bit about AIR. Marianne, are you there? Marianne?
Thanks so much, Diana. I am. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay,
Welcome.
no, great. Thanks. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Marianne Fideli-McLeod at the American Institutes for Research, and I'll be fairly brief today. My presentation will be an introduction to the American Institutes for Research, a little bit of detail about the areas we focus on in our work, and then more specifically, the role we'll play on the AEBG Technical Assistance Project. So I'm very happy to be a part of this, and I'm very appreciative to the SCOE team and Diana for putting this together today, so thank you. So American Institutes for Research, we just celebrated our 70th anniversary. We were established in 1946, and we're a nonpartisan, not-for-profit organization. The main line of our work is to conduct behavioral and social science research and deliver technical assistance domestically and internationally in three main areas: health, education, and workforce productivity. Great, I can forward the slides myself. Thank you. American Institutes for so who are we? What is American Institutes for Research? Our mission is to conduct and apply the best behavioral and social science research and evaluation towards improving people's lives, with a special emphasis on the disadvantaged. Adult basic education, adult literacy, and adult education have been an area of our work for the past 30 years, and we consider it an important part of meeting our mission as an organization to improve services in the lives of adult learners. Our vision for how we'll make a difference is to produce improvements in education, health, and the workforce, to address the needs of individuals, organizations, and communities, to design and advance statistical and research methods, and to support practitioners and organizations to adopt evidence-based practices, as well as to inform public understanding and policymaking through best use and understanding of evidence. And that's a fundamental part of our technical assistance and professional development that we look forward to providing on this project. Will be utilizing what's known about a subject matter in the 7 program areas, and then translating that through technical assistance and professional development to consortia and practitioners. In terms of the areas of our work that are most relevant to the adult ed block grant work, we have 17 practice areas. This slide features our adult learning and workforce area and higher education and career readiness area. So the way we organize ourselves and our work to have an impact is to develop an expert base that can focus our research, evaluation, and technical assistance. So we've had an adult learning group that's been providing technical assistance and doing research for about the last 30 years. Much of our work is with the U.S. Department of Ed OCTAE, as well as with the California Department of Education. And in the area of adult learning and workforce, we have focus on adult learning, aging, disability and rehabilitation, human factors engineering, reading and literacy, teacher prep and performance, principal preparation and performance, and I think that should say administrator preparation and performance, and workforce development. Our higher ed and career readiness group has a focus on college and career readiness, higher education, and STEM education. And Diana, if there's any questions that come up, I'm looking at the chat pod once in a while, but just let me know if something comes up that I don't see.
Okay.
So in terms of, thanks. So the American Institutes for Research team that will be working on this is primarily constituted by our adult learning experts, and you know many of us. I think I looked at the participant list and saw a lot of familiar names. So you'll know us, some of us who are working on the project, but again, in the interest of the many areas of responsibility of consortia and the impact the consortia are meant to meet, we will call upon our other expert groups as needed for this project. But I think many of you who are on the webinar today will know us best through our adult education work. For example, American Institute for Research developed, runs, and manages the National Reporting System for Adult Ed for the U.S. Department of Ed OCTAE. We recently completed the publication of the English Language Proficiency Standards for Adult Education, also for U.S. Department of Ed OCTAE. I think you know me, and many of you know me, and will know our team best through our work on CalPro, the California Adult Literacy Professional Development Project, which is contracted through California Department of Ed. And AIR runs the Program for International Assessment of Adult Competencies Support, so the technical assistance associated with PIAC. And you may now be used to receiving research webinars or data associated with PIAC programs. And I'm looking at the chat pod and don't see any questions now. AIR's role on the AEBG Technical Assistance Project, as Diana said, will be to offer, to provide technical assistance and professional development events that build the capacity of consortia to offer effective instruction in the 7 program areas, align curriculum and student services for seamless transition, support learner, college and career readiness, and develop exemplary leaders. I do see a question from Judy. Is AIR currently developing a WIOA NRS implementation guide as well? And Judy, I don't work on the NRS project. That's something that's led by Larry Condelli. And so there are numerous guides and publications put out by the NRS project. There's an NRS website, which I'll encourage everyone to go. So I don't think I could say with confidence we are or we aren't, but that information would surely be on the NRS website. And I'm only going to talk for about another minute, so I'd be happy to try and do a check-in on whether that is a yes or no answer while somebody else is speaking and write back. And no problem at all. And in terms of the TA and PD, we'll be leading webinars and other online events. We'll have upcoming webinars on topics such as accelerated learning, braiding and leveraging funding, planning collaborative PD, and integrated education and training. We'll also do face-to-face institutes, and we're working with, this is all under the leadership of Sacramento County Office of Ed and Diana. So we're working with Diana, AEBG office, and all to determine those topics and a methodology for delivering them. So we are looking forward to planning these events and conducting them. And I see there's a message from Frank. Any thoughts or discussion at AIR about possible access to I'm not sure what that word is, it might be a typo, smarter balanced assessments, giving the focus on college and career readiness? And I didn't mention that AIR has a division that focuses on assessments. And again, this is, I think, one of those questions, Frank, Sudi, thank you. One of these questions, Frank, where because we're a big organization and often have a lot of work happening simultaneously, I don't want to misspeak by giving a yes or no, but I'm going to be happy to look into that, try and get the right answer for you while we're in session, and if not, hopefully be able to send a true answer to you after this webinar. And I see that Sudi Whalen, one of my colleagues at AIR, just posted the NRS website. So thank you so much, Sudi. So as we go forward, you'll be seeing my name. You'll also recognize Sharice Moore's name, Marion Thatcher, Sudi Whalen as, I think, our California adult learning-based staff. And then we will be bringing on experts in other areas as needed in workforce development, college and career readiness, vocational rehabilitation and disabilities as needed to support the project. So I think, Diana, that's it for me.
Yes, it is. I'll go back one slide down.
I don't know, Diana, if sure, then I will leave it to you, and I'll look for any other questions coming up.
Right. So oh, right, Frank does have another question. But first, I just wanted to say that next week, on Wednesday, June 7th, we will be having AIR present on accelerated learning. There will be a webinar. It'll be advertised. You'll go through the same sign-up process through the Adobe Connect system, and this way we'll be able to begin providing some targeted technical assistance and sharing with you some accelerated learning projects that have been successful in the state already. Okay. I also mentioned that Frank's question about the Smarter Balance assessments and so forth for college and career readiness could be brought up to the assessment policy team. And I will go ahead and follow that. Yes, and Frank mentioned that the CTE team will be meeting tomorrow, and we could pose that same question to them. It's important that we get the questions and the information that the field wants to know to these field teams that the Adulta Block Grant Office has put together, because that is part of what their intention is, to find out what's needed in the field. Okay, so next coming up is our Casas part of the presentation, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Casas, the Comprehensive Adult Student Assessment System, and we're looking at the data and accountability piece. As John already pointed out, we did have a data submission that was our third quarter submission April 30th, and it was kind of a trial run for many of the new agencies using Adult Ed Block Grant. At that time, they were asked to submit data integrity reports, and we'll be looking at a tiered approach, especially with the Casas data and accountability piece, so that we'll start off with some basic webinars that provide kind of global information to the field that should help you with cleaning your data, collecting the data appropriately, and then moving into how to do an online submission of your data so that the data integrity report that you submit is clean and accurate and will really help us with what we need to present to the legislature. If we have some problems, and we know that it's a whole new system for some people, using TOPS Pro Enterprise is not something that we're just born knowing. We do need to be trained in it. We understand that. And if we need a little bit further targeted assistance, we do have some things available, such as Zoom video conferencing. We may look at using this through a number of our groups. possibly with the consortia leads through the AIR project, but certainly we'll be looking at using it with Casas so that we're able to provide targeted assistance to those who are having particular areas of difficulty within their Casas data and accountability reporting. Moving on, at the Casas website, they do have some good information there. And if Patty is ready, I'm going to go ahead and turn the Casas section over to Patty Long of Casas. Patty, are you on the line? Okay, Patty is dialing in, so let's see if maybe her microphone is still muted. I do see that another, John Warner, has posted another request for AIR, and this is something that we were talking about recently. The WIOA Statistical Adjustment Model. This is the design of the statistical regression model. It's in use establishing performance metrics, practical use at a local level. We know the state will be using when negotiating performance with local workforce development boards. How will adult ed be handled by the CDE in the future? And again, I think that that might be a good question that we can bring up with AAR and possibly within the field teams. Okay, Patty Long is saying her mic is muted. So I just wanted to say that Casas is already planning for some adult ed block grant trainings. As we were discussing, and some of the questions that you saw in the chat pod have to do with the data submission and some of the questions that people had with TOPS. Once the data has been submitted, how do we get a chance to look back and see what was submitted since it was submitted agency by agency, member by member? We want to see as a consortia how was our information submitted, how does it compare, and I think that might be one of the areas for technical assistance with Casas, so that we'll be able to teach the consortia leads and other members in the consortia how to go ahead and analyze the data that was submitted as a consortia as a whole, as well as be able to identify what problems some agencies may have had as they were submitting, so that they would be able to compare data member by member and roll it up as a consortia and show our best practices and our best data as we can. Okay, it looks like Patty is still having some technical assistance trouble, so we have our SCOE team working with her on that. In the meantime, let me go ahead and cover this slide of Adult Ed Block Grant Trainings for the summer of 2017. At the Casas calendar, the casas.org website will list that there are data submission guidelines for Adult Ed Block Grant. Everyone knows that there are data and accountability requirements, and it was announced in December that TOPS Pro Enterprise will be the management information system that's responsible for collecting and reporting that data. So there have been some trainings on TOPS Pro Enterprise Basics, including the third-party data exchange. Excuse me. The third-party data exchange is where you're using data from another system, such as your attendance system, and rolling it into your TOPS Pro Enterprise for reporting purposes. There is also a training on TOPS Pro Enterprise Basics, which includes entering and editing student data. There's a question, are you on target? Using your data integrity report, there'll be a training that will help you to analyze your data and go through your data integrity report and make sure that the information that you're reporting is in fact the best information for your agency, for your consortia. We'll be preparing Casas resource materials for administrators, data managers, and also for lead teachers. We do know that through this tiered approach that we will be targeting different audiences and making sure that the Casas information, the TOPS Pro Enterprise information, is what we need to submit in the future so that the data that we are submitting really does tell our story. That's one of the things that we're looking forward to. Creating TOPS Enterprise instructional reports, as well as using data to improve program performance. And with this, we're looking at not only agency performance, but also consortia-wide performance. Patty is still having some trouble, so I'll just continue. And thank you, Patty, for sharing the information with us. I'd also like to point out that we do have Casas regional training that will be posted. We'll be starting in August of 2017. This is something that we're very familiar with if you're a WIOA-funded agency, as we typically have a multi-day training through Casas where they kind of take it, I like to say, on the road show and go around the state and provide the information of what our data collection requirements are, how to implement the training for new users with the AEBG system, as well as TOPS-RO Enterprise Basics training. What we're trying to do is to make sure that everyone that is required to submit data knows what their the best systems for collecting the data so that when we report it. Patty, can you go in the chat box? There's a question from Jody Slider that says, when will the TOPS-RO build include the new data tables as reported for AEBG? And Patty is typing an answer to that. So we look forward to these advanced level trainings and helping everyone move forward with our data collection and making sure that we are collecting the information, as I mentioned, so that we'll be able to tell our story using data, having the input from the field teams that Neil talked about, and I think that we'll be able to really provide the legislature with some information that they're looking for, showing them the hard work that we've been doing and the outcomes that are coming up. So while Patty's typing, are there any other questions for Casas? Patty says the TOPS-RO build will be finished by the end of summer. I think many of us are also attending Casas Summer Institute, and there will be some Adult Ed Block Grant technical assistance project presentations there, and we'll have so much information as a good follow-up at Summer Institute. Summer Institute is sold out, so I hope to see many of you there. Moving on with the presentation in the interest of time, I'd like to now introduce Joyce Hinkson, who is with our Outreach and Technical Assistance Network of OTAN. Okay, Joyce, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Diana. Hello, everybody. I'm Joyce Hinkson, and I am stationed with OTAN at the Sacramento County Office of Education here in Mather, California. We have 4 OTAN trainers here at this site. We have Penny Pearson, Bronca Marchetta, Blair Roy, and Melinda Holt. And each one of them has a specialty in some particular area of education technology. So OTAN's mission is to lead California adult education in the integration of technology into the educational process. So we actually focus on adult educators, and then the educators take their knowledge and they use it in the classroom with their students. So we are at www.otan.us.
Take over. Joyce, can I interrupt you just for one moment? We seem to be having a little trouble with your sound. Would you try turning down the volume at your side? Let's see if that will help us.
All right. How is that? Any better? Okay. How's that?
Let's test it one more time. I'm waiting for a response in the chat box. Not so much. And we had tested our mics earlier, so I apologize for this.
Okay, how's that? Is that
a little bit more?
Is that better? Is that a little better?
And maybe your microphone's a little too close to your mouth. Let's try that. I'm so sorry for
How's
the
that?
interruption.
Is that a little better?
Yes, that sounds better.
Okay. Usually they say, talk up. I don't speak loud enough. Okay, so we're going to go on to the instructional technology. OTAN does everything that you see on this slide, instructional technology, face-to-face and online workshops. So if you need education technology information or training, just think OTAN. So we have everything from help with Chromebooks, online privacy. We work with a device called Rachel for the corrections department so that it's a completely enclosed system. So if they can't have internet access, we have options. We have technology planning assistance. If you go to the website, you'll also find videos on integrating resources in the classroom. We have a YouTube channel. We have web-based class activities. So I'm hoping that you will find something there that will help you. We have a lot of different education technology training classes. Some of the most popular right now are digital badging and micro-credentialing. But we also do Microsoft 365, cloud-based learning, mobile technology using cell phones in the classroom, online blended learning, and then we have a Google certified educator who does Google Tools and Drive. So the way that you can sign up for a class is to either go to the website or email us at support@otan.us. We will either provide a face-to-face training for you at your site or a convenient site, online, or provide technical support for a technology project that you have at your site. I think that's it for the slides that I have, so I'm going to turn it back over to you, Diana.
Thank you, Joyce. And I'm also putting that you can go to aebg.org, and we'll be posting the upcoming webinars and things so that you can also access the OTAN webinars. I see that John's posted another question, if we have each partner's role in an org chart that we could use to relay the information. I think that's a great idea, and I will take that tip, and we'll work on that and post that at the website as well. I also want to point out that OTAN does provide electronic information and collaboration, not just webinars, but also webcasts. We will be providing online meeting support, and in this lovely photograph here, you can see this is using our Zoom platform where we can have video conferencing across the state. It makes it a little bit easier when we have people that are spread out at a distance so that we can provide professional development, targeted assistance, and so forth. There's also, through OTAN, there's an online newsletter and digest. We'll be looking at modifying some of those to include adult ed block grant specific information, and we're updating the adult education provider directory. Welcome back to some of the schools that we missed over a couple of years. And very important, we do have an online jobs board. So if you have positions that are opening and you're recruiting for teachers and things, please use our OTAN job board for posting those positions. Okay, Marianne Fideli is talking to everyone about working on updating the NRS implementation guidelines that will reflect WIOA and NRS requirements. And again, we'll be providing very specific information with regard to AEBG topics as well. So are there any other questions? We do just have a few minutes left. And this is the first webinar that we've been able to present as a team. And I'd like to thank our partners. I think everyone really did a great job today. But now, seeing no questions, I'd like to pose some questions to our audience. And I'm going to try something different. I believe in our audience, we have some members who are consortia directors. I believe in our audience, we have some members who are administrators, program administrators. And I also hope that we also have some members who are, how did I lose that one? Who are instructors or possibly coordinators, instructor leads. So I'd like you to select a chat pod, which most applies to your grouping, and please answer the question, what technical assistance or professional development is most important to you in your role? You can see as consortia directors, the choices are instruction and guidance, governance and accountability, or data and reporting. In the question pod for instructors, are you looking more for instruction and curriculum or for collaborative instructional professional planning? We'll take this information. We'll be going forward with some other surveys that will help us to develop and plan our targeted assistance and our professional development. We really are looking at helping the field in the way that the field needs it the most so that we're able to address the issues that have been problematic in the past. We do work very closely with the Adult Ed Block Grant Office, the combined office of the California Community College Chancellor's Office, as well as the California Department of Education. So we are able to be a conduit, if you will, between that office and the field, and we're looking forward to providing information to that office as well as to providing the best information that we can to the field. Okay, let's see. I lost one of my little chat pods, so I'm trying to find it. Well, this is a good information, a good way for us to get started with this information. And you can see that many people are concerned right now about data and reporting. And I'm sure that that's why our questions today really did focus in on data and reporting, looking at agency information as well as consortia information. In my chat pod that I see with what our instructors are looking for within the consortia, we really are looking at collaborative professional planning. So that is part of what will help us direct what assistance we'll be providing to the field. And it looks like we are pretty much on target. We did have some information, some people who are interested in all of those areas that we posed. So are there any final comments that any of our partners would like to make? Let me go through each one of you individually. And since we have a few more minutes, Marianne, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, just thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and your participating members.
Okay, great. Thank you. Patty would like us to announce that they will be having data-focused workshops for adult ed block grant teams beginning again on July 11th. And Joyce, are you able to join us again? Do you have any remarks?
Well, I think my microphone issues have been resolved. I just wanted to let folks know that in addition to the 4 trainers we have here at the OTAN office, we have approximately 40 OTAN trainers throughout the state. So if you want someone to come to your site, we will find someone that's close to your agency.
Yes, that is an important part of our project. We will be looking for local subject matter experts, and also, you know, as things go on through the year, we find that there are different things that we need to address. So we will be responsive to what everyone needs. Okay, any other questions? Then I guess since we've covered most of the information, we're just a few minutes early, but I'd like to go ahead and dismiss everyone. And thank you again for participating. Now, as soon as this webinar ends, you will have a box pop up that will be a feedback and question and answer, very short survey for you about what you thought about today's webinar. This will help us as we develop technical assistance and plan for the future. And I hope to see everyone again. As I said, next Wednesday, June 7th, we'll be providing information on accelerated learning. And I hope to see you then. Jody Slider, I see one other question for Casas. Are the upcoming 2-day regional trainings similar to the previous 2-day trainings? So I'm waiting to see if Patty is on the line. Jody, I believe that they are, and it will be more of a focus on adult ed block grants so that you realize that there are, you know, more areas. Yes, Patty says except IT and TE basics are on the same day, day 2. And the program trainings, AEBG and WIOA, will be held separately on day 1. Oh, what we like to call the Jay and Neil show. Thank you for reminding us of that, Jody. Okay, thank you again, everyone, for participating. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you hopefully next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana.